Hey guys, tonight we're leaving cities, buildings, and even solid ground behind. We're going to a place where your home is never in the same spot for more than a few days, where the horizon is your only wall, and where your best friend, your car, and your entire livelihood are all the same thing, a horse. We are heading to the vast, windswept steppes of Eurasia to live among the ancient Scythians. A quick hit minus up, the Wi-Fi out here is terrible, and the primary food groups are mutton and fermented mare's milk, so your modern sensibilities might not last the night, which makes this the perfect story to just drift off to. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, I'd love to know where you're listening from and what time it is in your corner of the world. It's always amazing to see how far these stories travel. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first thing you are aware of is not a sound, nor a sight, but a feeling. It is motion, a gentle, steady, side minus to minus side rocking. A rhythmic creak and sway that has been the constant backdrop to every moment of your life. You are not in a bed. You are in a nest of wool and felt, inside the womb of a wagon that is, and always has been, your home. This motion is your stillness. It is the feeling of safety. You open your eyes to a world of dim, warm brown. The air is thick with the smell of lanolin from the heavy felt walls, the faint, smoky tang of last night's dung fire, the sharp scent of dried herbs hanging from the curved wooden ribs of the roof, and the ever-minus present, comforting aroma of leather and horse. You are cocooned, surrounded by the sleeping forms of your family, their bodies rising and falling in the same rhythm as the wagon. Your home is a marvel of nomadic engineering. It's not a rickety car, but a substantial dwelling, its large wooden wheels turning slowly, pulled by a team of 6 lumbering oxen. The Greek historian Herodotus, a man from a world of stone, would one day write about your people, marveling at these houses on wheels. He was right. This is not a vehicle you use to get from one home to another. This is the home. You crawl over the sleeping form of your older brother, careful not to disturb the quiver of arrows hanging from the wall, and push aside the heavy, greased minus felt flap that serves as your door. The change is instantaneous and overwhelming. A blast of cool, clean wind hits your face, carrying the scent of wild thyme and damp earth. Your eyes, accustomed to the dim interior, squint against the vast, soft light of dawn, and you see it, the sea, not a sea of water, but a sea of grass, stretching in every direction to a horizon so distant and unbroken, it feels like the edge of the world. There are no trees, no buildings, no roads. There is only the endless, undulating green minus gold plain, and the sky, a vast, pale blue bowl overhead. Your wagon is not alone. As far as you can see, both ahead and behind is a river of other wagons, a slow minus moving nation on the march. You see vast herds of animal, sheep, cattle, and horses, thousands upon thousands of them flowing like water across the landscape, guided by men and women on horseback. The only sounds are the creaking of countless wheels, the lowing of cattle, the muffled thunder of 10,000 hooves on soft turf, and the ceaseless whisper of the wind through the grass. This is the great seasonal migration. But where are you going? You, as a child, don't know the specifics. You only know that you follow the grass. When the grazing in one area is exhausted, you move on. It feels like a life of aimless wandering, but it is anything but. The elders know the way. They follow ancient, invisible paths, leading the tribe from the winter pastures in the sheltered river valleys to the lush, open grasslands of summer. This is a point historians will debate for centuries. Were your people true, aimless wanderers, driven by women to weather, or did you practice a structured, predictable form of nomadism called transhumancy, following a set seasonal schedule along established routes? Most modern scholars lean towards the latter, believing your movements were a highly sophisticated adaptation to a challenging environment. But the sheer scale of the steppe and the lack of permanent records mean the exact highways of your ancestors remain a mystery, a map drawn on the wind. You climb onto the driver's seat at the front of the wagon, next to your sleeping father. The rocking motion is stronger here. It's the rhythm of your life, the heartbeat of your world, the idea of a stationary house. A home rooted to one spot is a strange and unsettling concept you've only heard about in stories of the dirt miners diggers far to the south. To you, to be still is to be vulnerable. To be still is to be dead. Life is motion. The sun climbs higher, painting the endless grass in shades of golden umber. The camp slowly awakens. The river of wagons does not stop, but the pace of life upon them begins. You hear the sounds of your mother and older sister inside, preparing the morning meal. Soon, the sharp, tangy smell of melting sheep's cheese and the hearty aroma of grilling dried meat waft out of the wagon flat. But before you eat, there is a more important ritual. Your father, thou await, nudges you with his elbow and points. A man on horseback is leading a small group of horses towards your wagon. One of them is a young colt, barely more than a foal, with a shaggy, dumb minus-colored coat and eyes that are dark, wild, and intelligent. That one, your father says, his voice a low rumble. That one is yours. Your heart leaps into your throat. This is the day you have dreamed of for as long as you can remember. In your culture, you learn to ride before you can properly walk. You have spent your young life clinging to the backs of your family's placid mares or riding in front of your father in his saddle. But today, you get your own horse. It is not a gift in the way a settled child might receive a toy. It is the beginning of your true life. A Scythian without a horse is not a whole person. They are a cripple, an outcast, an object of pity. Your horse is your other half, an extension of your own body. The Greek writers who observed your people would later claim, with a mixture of awe and disgust, that you were one with your horses, that you lived, ate, and even slept in the saddle. This was an exaggeration. Of course, you had wagons and lived in them, but the exaggeration contained a profound truth about the centrality of the horse to your identity. The man brings the young horse to the side of your moving wagon. It is not yet broken, not yet tame. It shies away, its nostrils flaring as it eyes the great, creaking bulk of your home. He needs to learn your scent, your father says. He cuts a small piece of jerky from his pouch and hands it to you. Go. You slide down from the wagon, your bare feet landing softly on the turf. The ground feels strange and unsteady after the familiar rocking of the wagon. You approach the horse slowly, your hand outstretched with the offering of dried meat. You make no sudden move. You murmur to it in low, soothing tones, the same way your mother murmurs to a fretful baby. The horse watches you, its ears twitching. It takes a tentative step forward, then another. It stretches its neck and sniffs your hand, its warm, moist breath tickling your palm. Finally, its soft lips pluck the piece of meat from your hand. A bond has been forged. Over the coming weeks, you will spend every waking moment with this horse. You will feed it, groom its shaggy coat with a bone comb, and sleep near it at night when the caravan stops. You will learn its moods, the twitch of its ear that signals fear, the soft nicker that means contentment, and it will learn you. Your father will teach you how to ride it, not with a bit and bridle your people find that barbaric and insulting to the horse, but with a simple rope pack more in the pressure of your knees. You will fall. Many times, you will be scraped, bruised, and frustrated, but you will always get back on, because learning to ride is not a hobby. It is your education, your rite of passage. This method of horsemanship is a point of some debate among equine historians. Did the Scythians use bits, or did they rely solely on pressure and balance? Archaeological finds are ambiguous. Some graves contain elaborate cheek minus pieces that suggest complex bridles, while others have not. It's likely that minus methods varied between tribes and changed over time. Perhaps warriors used more severe attack for battle, while herders like your family used gentler methods. The full picture of Scythian horsemanship remains elusive. You stand there, stroking the soft nose of your new companion, your second self. The colt nudges your shoulder, already accepting your presence. It doesn't have a name yet in your culture. A whore earns its name through its deeds, just as a person does. You look into its dark, wild eyes and see a reflection of the endless steppe, a reflection of your own future. Your life as a true person, a person of the grasslands, begins today. After the profound ritual of receiving your first horse, you return to the wagon for the morning meal. The food is simple and unchanging. The diet of the steppe there is tough, sun-minus dried mutton, chewy and salty, which you gnaw on with strong teeth. There is hard, crumbly cheese made from sheep's milk, but the centerpiece of the meal, the drink that washes it all down, is something else entirely. Your mother ladles a milky, off-minus weight liquid from a large, smoky leather bag that hangs from the wagon's frame. She pours it into a shallow, wooden bowl and hands it to you. This is Kurgan, and it is the river of life for your people. You take your first proper sip. You've had tastes of it before, diluted with water, but this is your first time drinking it as a full member of the family. The taste is a shock to the system. It is intensely sour, with a sharp, tangy bite that makes your tongue tingle and your eyes water. There's a faint, underlying sweetness, but it's overwhelmed by the powerful lactic acid flavor. It is also slightly fizzy, effervescent from the fermentation, and has a strong, horsey, animal smell. To an outsider, it would be an utterly bizarre and possibly repulsive drink. The Greek historian Herodotus, ever the keen observer of barbarian customs, would write about it, noting with some astonishment that the Scythians' most prized possession was the milk of their mares. He understood its importance, even if he couldn't quite stomach the taste. But for you, this is not just a drink. It is food, it is medicine, it is a social ritual, and it is a connection to the sacred animal that defines your existence. The process of making it is a constant, rhythmic part of life on the move. Several times a day, the women of the tribe will round up the mares, leaving the foals tied to a line. They milk the horses, gathering the thin, sweet milk in leather churns. This fresh milk is then poured into the larger fermentation bags, like the one in your wagon. These bags are never fully emptied and never washed. They contain a perpetual mother culture of yeast and bacteria, a living cocktail of microorganisms that has been passed down for generations. The new milk is added to the old, and the bag is agitated either by shaking it, or simply by the constant rocking of the wagon as it moves across the steppe. This motion churns the milk, and the culture goes to work, converting the lactose into lactic acid and a small amount of alcohol. The result is a beverage that is both nutritious and practical. The fermentation process preserves the milk, a critical function in a world without refrigeration. It also breaks down the lactose, making it easier to digest for many people. And the small amount of alcohol, along with the good bacteria, gives it a reputation as a healthy, fortifying tonic that cleanses the gut and wards off sickness. As you drink your bowl of Kurgan, you listen to your father and uncle argue about the quality of this particular batch. To them, your uncle complains, the mares are not on the right grass yet. Your father disagrees. No, the tang is good. The culture is strong this season. This is a conversation that highlights a fascinating, undebated aspect of your people's diet. How much control did they really have over their food supply? Were they sophisticated probiotic farmers, carefully managing their humus cultures and seeking out specific grasses for their horses to produce the best milk? Or were they simply opportunistic, their methods dictated by luck and the seasons? The truth is likely somewhere in between. While they couldn't control the climate, their deep, generational knowledge of the landscape and the fermentation process gave them a significant degree of influence over the quality of their most important food source. They were masters of a wild and unpredictable form of dairy farming. There's another, more secretive, side to humus production. Herodotus wrote of a strange practice where the Scythians would blind their slaves and force them to do nothing but churn the milk, believing their blindness somehow improved the quality of the final product. This is a lurid and disturbing detail, and historians debate its accuracy. Was it true? Was Herodotus misinterpreting a ritual he didn't understand? Or was it a bit of sensationalism? A scary story told by his Greek informants to emphasize the otherness of your people. The archaeological record is silent on the matter, leaving it a dark and unsettling mystery. You finish your bowl of sawmill. The tangy aftertaste lingers on your tongue. You feel a familiar warmth spread through your stomach, a feeling of being both nourished and energized. You may not like the taste in a simple sense, but you crave it. It is the flavor of your identity. You are a child of the horse people, and this is the sour, tangy milk that sustains you. The morning meal is finished. The chaos you miss still a pleasant, tangy warmth in your belly. The great river of wagons and herds continues its slow, inexorable flow across the plains. Now, another part of your education begins. It is time to learn the way of the bow. Your father retrieves a bow from the side of the wagon. It is not a child's toy. It is a miniature version of his own fearsome weapon, a masterfully crafted Scythian bow. It's a composite bow, made not from a single piece of wood, but from layers of different materials, acre of wood. A layer of animal sinew on the back, the side facing away from the archer, and a layer of horn on the belly, the side facing the archer. These layers, glued together with a powerful adhesive rendered from fish bladders, give the bow its distinctive shape, a short, deeply recovered Cupid's bow design. This design is a piece of military genius, a key to your people's power. A simple wooden bow needs to be long to be powerful, but a long bow is clumsy and impossible to use effectively from horseback. The composite, recovered design allows a short, maneuverable bow to store an immense amount of energy, making it incredibly powerful and deadly accurate. It is the perfect weapon for a mounted warrior. The bow is not a stick you pull, your father says, his voice serious as he hands you the small but stiff weapon. It is a living thing. You must learn to speak its language. He gives you a single, blunt minus-tipped arrow. Your first lessons are not in shooting, but in respect and form. You learn how to string the bow, a difficult and potentially dangerous task that requires you to bend the stiff limbs against your leg. You learn how to hold it, how to draw the string back not with your fingers, but with your thumb, a technique known as the Mongolian draw, which is better suited for shooting from horseback. Your first targets are not animals or enemies. They are clumps of earth or a patch of distinctive wildflowers. 100 paces from the moving wagon, you are taught to shoot while walking, then while running, and finally, from the back of your own young horse. This is the hardest part. You must learn to control your horse with your legs, balance your body, nock an arrow, draw, and release, all while the world is moving beneath you. Your first 100 shots are a failure. The arrows fly wide, skittering uselessly across the grass. Your arms ache, your thumb is raw, and your frustration mounts. But your father is patient. He corrects your grip, adjusts your stance, and makes you do it again, and again, and again. You are thinking too much, he tells you. The deer does not think before it leaps. The eagle does not think before it dives. You must let the arrow fly from your spirit, not from your head. This is not just about hunting. The bow is central to your cultural identity. Scythian art, especially the intricate gold work your people are famous for, is filled with images of archers. The graves of your warriors, and even many of your women, are almost always furnished with a bow and a goritos, a special case that holds both the arrows and the bow itself. To be a Scythian is to be an archer. You finally manage to hit your target, a bright yellow flower. A small puff of petals explodes into the air. A fierce surge of pride, sharp and clean, goes through you. It's a small victory, but it feels monumental. As you practice, you notice a strange detail. The arrowheads used by the warriors are not all the same. Most are simple, triangular bronze points, designed for piercing leather armor, but some are different. Your uncle has a quiver of arrows with bizarrely shaped heads. Some are bowed, making them difficult to remove. Others are solid, blunt points, designed not to kill, but to stun or break bones. And a few, the most mysterious, are hollow, with small holes drilled into them. You ask your father about these. Those are the whispering arrows. he says in a low voice. When they fly, they sing a song, a terrible song. They are not for killing men, they are for killing courage. This is a fascinating piece of psychological warfare that will be noted by later historians. These whistling arrows, when fired in a volley, would create a terrifying, shrieking noise as they flew through the air, designed to panic enemy soldiers and their horses before the real, lethal volley arrived. It's a subtle and brutal innovation. However, the exact purpose of these arrows is still a matter of academic debate. Were they purely for psychological effect, or did they also serve as signaling devices on the chaotic, dusty battlefields of the steppe, with different tones indicating different commands? The answer is lost, carried away on the same wind that once made them sing. You nock another arrow, this time a sharp one your father has given you. You see a ground squirrel perched on a rock a short distance away. You take a breath, let your mind go quiet as your father instructed, and release. The arrow flies true. It's another small step on a long journey, the journey of becoming a hunter, a warrior, a Scythian. Your life may be spent on the move, but your purpose is becoming sharp, clear, and deadly accurate. The days blur into a seamless rhythm of riding, shooting, and moving. The small, familiar landscape around your family's wagon becomes your entire world. But one morning, you awake to a different feeling in the air. There's a new sense of energy, of collective purpose. The slow, meandering pace of the caravan has quickened. The elders have decided the grazing here is thin, and the great summer pastures, still many weeks away, are calling. It is time for the great seasonal migration to begin in earnest. What you are about to experience is not just a journey. It is the defining event of your people's year. It is a vast, coordinated movement of an entire nation, spectacle of nomadic life that is almost impossible for a settled person to comprehend. Your father lets you ride your own horse alongside the wagon, a sign of your growing maturity. From this new vantage point, the sheer scale of your world unfurls. You are not just a single wagon in a line. You are part of a living river of people and animals, flowing across an endless ocean of grass. You look ahead, and the procession of wagons, herds, and riders stretches to the hazy horizon. You look behind, and it is the same. There are thousands of wagons, each a family's home, their felt roofs like the white minus-capped waves of a great sea. Between the wagons are the herds, the source of all your wealth. You see vast, sprawling flocks of fat minus-tailed sheep, their wool thick and greasy, moving like a slow, grey cloud. You see herds of long minus-horned cattle, their lowing a constant, deep rumble that you feel in your chest. And everywhere, there are horses, tens of thousands of them, small, shaggy, and incredibly tough. They are the lifeblood of your nation. They are ridden by warriors, herded by young boys, and milked by the women. They are not contained in neat fields. They flow across the steppe. Their neigh SNWH and nigh is a constant soundtrack to your journey. The whole nation is moving. The logistics are mind-boggling, yet it all happens with a smooth, practiced efficiency, an unwritten choreography passed down through generations. The caravan is organized by clans and subclans, each with its own designated place in the line of march. Scouts ride far ahead, searching for the best grazing and the safest river crossings. Flanking parties of warriors protect the herds from predators both from minus-legged to minus-legged. As you ride, you begin to understand the true meaning of your people's wealth. It is not in gold or land. You own no land. You simply use it as you pass through. Your wealth is mobile. It is in the number and health of your animals. A man's status is measured not by the size of his house, but by the size of his herd. This is the fundamental economic reality of pastoral nomadism. But this mobile wealth creates a unique set of challenges and anxieties. Your greatest fear is not a poor harvest, but a disease that could sweep through your herds, or a sudden, unseasonable blizzard that could freeze your animals where they stand. Your entire net worth is alive, breathing, and vulnerable. A question that perplexes historians is how a society like yours, with no fixed cities or central bureaucracy, could organize and govern itself on such a massive scale. The answer seems to lie in a flexible, hierarchical clan system. The smallest unit is your family. Multiple families from a clan, led by a respected elder. Multiple clans from a tribe, led by a chief, or proprius. And in times of great war or crisis, multiple tribes might unite under a single king. But this structure was fluid. A clan might split off, or a charismatic leader might attract followers and form a new tribe. It was a political system, as mobile and adaptable as your lifestyle. One afternoon, your father points to a series of low mounds on the horizon, the only feature breaking the flatness of the plain. The old ones, graves, he says, his voice tinged with reverence. These are Kurgan, the burial mounds of chieftains from generations long past. They are the only permanent marks your people leave on the landscape. They are your history, your land claims, your connection to a place you are always leaving. You ride past them in respectful silence. Some historians will argue these Kurgan were not just tombs, but also served as crucial navigational markers on the vast, featureless steppe, a kind of sacred GPS system for your annual migrations. As you ride, you also learn one of the hard truths of this life. You see a lame sheep, unable to keep up with the flock. A herder swiftly and dispassionately kills it with his knife. Nothing is wasted. It will be eaten tonight. But the lesson is clear in this world. To fall behind is to be left behind. The herd must keep moving. This brutal, unsentimental practicality is a survival mechanism. A necessary cruelty in a world where the well-minus being of the group always outweighs the needs of the individual. You ride on, the sun on your face, the wind in your hair, the endless green ocean of the steppe rolling out before you. You are a tiny, moving part of a vast, ancient, and powerful current. You are not just traveling through the landscape. You are the landscape. A temporary, living feature of the great, green sea. The great migration continues for many days, a slow and steady tide of life. One evening, the caravan halts in a place of special significance. It's a shallow basin surrounded by low hills, a place sheltered from the constant wind. The elders have declared it a sacred place, a place for rituals that cannot be performed in motion. It is time for you to receive your first tattoo. Tattooing is not a fashion for your people. It is a language written on the skin. It tells the story of your lineage, your accomplishments, and the animal spirits that protect you. To be untattooed is to be a blank page, a child without a story. It is a rite of passage, a mark of your entry into the society of adults. You are led to a small tent set apart from the main camp, along with a few other young people your age. The air inside is thick with the smell of burning sage and something else. A short, metallic scent. The tattooist is an old woman. Her own face and arms a dense tapestry of dark blue lines and swirling shapes. Her eyes are clouded with cataracts, but her hands are as steady as stone. She does not use a modern tattoo gun, a machine of buzzing needles. Her tools are ancient and organic. She has a set of sharpened bone needles, a small pot of black soot mixed with sheep's fat, and an unnerving calm. You are nervous, but you show no fear. To flinch or cry out would bring great shame upon you and your family. You remove your tunic and sit before the old woman. She examines your bare shoulder, the canvas for your first mold. She does not use a stencil or a drawing. The design is in her mind, a pattern passed down through generations. She dips a bone needle into the pot of black soot and begins. The pain is sharp and immediate, 100 tiny, fiery stings. It is not a continuous line, but a series of small punctures, pricking the design into your skin dot by dot. The old woman works with a rhythmic, hypnotic motion, her leathery hand tapping your shoulder. Prick, wipe, prick, wipe. The only sounds are her low, humming chant and the faint clicking of the bone against your skin. She is marking you with the image of a stag, its antlers swirling in an intricate, beautiful spiral. The stag is a powerful spirit in your cosmology. It represents speed, grace, and the wild. You enter the immovable heart of the steppe. To wear its image is to ask for its protection and to borrow a piece of its power. This is the famous Scythian animal style, a unique and powerful art form that will fascinate archaeologists for millennia. Your people's art is not realistic. It is a dynamic, swirling, and often abstract representation of animal forms, full of coiled energy and fierce movement. You see it on your weapons, your horse trappings, and most intimately, on your skin. The discovery of remarkably well-minus preserved Scythian bodies, frozen in the permafrost of the Altai Mountains, will one day reveal the full extent and beauty of this practice to the outside world. Mummies like the Siberian Ice Maiden will be covered from head to toe in these exquisite, intricate tattoos, a silent testament to the richness of your artistic and spiritual life. The old woman finishes her work. Your shoulder is a swollen, bloody mess, but through the blood, you can see the dark, powerful outline of the stare. She rubs a mixture of herbs and fat into the wound to help it heal and prevent infection. The pain throbs in time with your heartbeat, but you feel a deep sense of pride. You have endured. You have been more. But as you look at your new tattoo, a question that historians will debate arises. What is the exact meaning of these images? Are they purely decorative? Are they clan symbols, like a coat of arms? Are they religious icons, representing gods or spirit helpers? Or are they a kind of shamanic map, a record of spiritual journeys or transformations? The answer is likely all of the above. Your stag might represent your family's ancestral spirit. It might also be a prayer for swiftness in the hunt. And for a shaman, the same image might have a deeper, more esoteric meaning. The Scythian belief system, with no written text to explain it, will remain a tantalizing puzzle, its secrets only partially revealed through its powerful art. As you leave the tent, you notice something curious. The soot used for the tattoos is collected from the inside of a specific type of cauldron, one used for a ritual involving the burning of hallucinogenic plants. Does the soot itself, therefore, contain some of the plant's spiritual power? Is the act of tattooing also an act of transferring a sacred substance into your very being? It's a subtle connection, a piece of ritual technology that will be almost impossible for outsiders to ever fully understand. You walk back to your family's wagon, your shoulder on fire, that your spirit soaring. You are no longer just a boy. You are a stag-minus son, a child of the steppe, and you have the story to prove it, etched forever into your skin. The pain in your shoulder from the fresh dirt slowly subsides into a dull, satisfying ache. It is a constant reminder of your new status. In the evenings, as the great caravan circles its wagons for the night, the families gather around crackling dung fires. This is the time for stories. The firelight flickers on the weathered faces of the elders, the keepers of your people's history. There are no books, no written records. Your entire library is held in the memories of these old men and women, passed down through the spoken word, from one generation to the next. Tonight, an old warrior, a man whose own tattoos tell 100 tales of battles and long journeys, begins a familiar and fascinating story. It is a tale of the dirt miners diggers. He uses this term, a phrase dripping with a mixture of pity and contempt, to describe the people who live in the lands far to the south and west of the great steppe, the Greeks, the Persians, the farmers of Mesopotamia, to you, a child of the endless grass sea. The idea of their lives is almost incomprehensible. They live in houses made of mud and stone, the old warrior says, and you can hear the disbelief in his own voice, even though he has seen it himself. Houses that do not move. They are born in one house, and they die in the same house. They are like trees, rooted to one spot. If the grass fails or the river dries up, they cannot simply move on. They stay, and they store. The other children and I listen, enthralled and slightly horrified. The concept of such a static, vulnerable existence is terrifying. It seems like a prison, and their wealth is not in herds, he continues, but in piles of shiny metal and fields of dirt that they scratch out with sticks. They spend their lives guarding these piles of metal and these patches of dirt. If an enemy comes, they cannot retreat into the steppe. They must hide behind walls of stone, like frightened mice. This is a classic clash of civilizations narrative, told from the nomadic point of view. It is a perspective that is rarely recorded in history, which is almost always written by the literate, settled societies. You are hearing the other side of the story, the barbarian's view of the civilized world. To you, your way of life is not primitive. It is superior. It is free, adaptable, and resilient. Their way of life is rooted, fragile, and absurdly attached to meaningless things like land and buildings. The old warrior tells of a time he traveled with a trading party to a Greek colony on the shores of the Black Sea. He describes the strange, narrow streets, the feeling of being trapped between high walls, the foul smell of 1,000 people living packed together in one place. He speaks of their strange customs, their love of talking and arguing, their soft, unminus weathered skin. They are clever, he concedes. They can make beautiful pots and fine cloth, but they cannot ride, they cannot shoot, they cannot find their way across the steppe without a guide. They are like clever children, helpless outside their stone nests. This perception of settled peoples as physically weak and incompetent is a common trope in nomadic cultures. It is a core part of your own cultural identity. But it raises a question that historians and anthropologists will debate: how accurate is this view? Was it a fair assessment? Or was it a form of cultural propaganda? A way to reinforce your own group's sense of superiority and justify your raids upon your settled neighbors? The warrior's story also reveals a subtle and fascinating detail about the Scythian worldview. He speaks of the dirt-minus diggers with contempt, yet he also proudly wears a belt buckle made by a Greek craftsman. Your people, it seems, had a complex and contradictory relationship with settled civilizations. You scorned their lifestyle but coveted their luxury goods, their wine, their pottery, their metalwork. You were not isolated from their world. You were deeply entangled with it through a complex network of trade, tribute, and warfare. You were the barbarian at the gate, but you were also their most important customer. This complex relationship is something many historical accounts, which tend to portray nomads and settled peoples as being in a state of perpetual, binary opposition, often miss. The reality was much messier and more interesting. As the fire dies down to glowing embers, the old warrior ends his tale. So do not pity the dirt-minus digger, he says, but do not envy him either. His world is small and his spirit is tethered. Our world is the whole sky. Our spirit is the wind. You crawl back into your family's wagon, the gentle rocking motion a comforting reassurance of your freedom. You think of the people in their motionless stone houses and feel a profound sense of pity for them. You are a child of the wind and the grass, and tonight you feel like the richest person in the world. Life in the moving camp is a world of defined roles, a system you have always accepted without question. The men and older boys ride out to hunt and to guard the herds. The women manage the wagons, prepare the food, milk the mares, and raise the children. It is a clear and practical division of labor. But one day, you witness something that challenges and expands your understanding of this system. Your uncle, a fierce and respected warrior, is organizing a training exercise. He gathers a group of young men, all in their late teens, to practice their mounted combat skills. They perform incredible feats of horsemanship, leaning far out of their saddles to scoop up objects from the ground at a full gallop, and firing arrows with deadly accuracy at moving targets woven from grass. You watch with the other young boys, your heart filled with a mixture of admiration and envy. This is the future you are training for. Then, something unexpected happens. Two young women, your older cousin and her friend, approach the training ground. They are not there to bring water or to watch from the sidelines. They are carrying their own bows and quivers, and they lead their own horses. They move with the same quiet confidence as the young men. Your uncle does not send them away. He nods to them, an unspoken acknowledgement. They mount their horses with the same food grace as the men enjoy in the training line. What follows is a stunning display of skill. Your cousin, a girl you have always known for her quick laughter and her skill at embroidering felt, becomes a different person on horseback. She controls her horse with subtle shifts of her weight, her hands free to draw her bow. She fires a volley of arrows into the target, her groupings just as tight, if not tighter, than many of the young men's. Her friend, meanwhile, practices with a short spear, urging her horse into a charge and striking the dummy target with impressive force. You are speechless. You knew women learned to ride. Of course, everyone rides. But to see them training for combat, with the same weapons and the same intensity as the men, is a revelation. This is a direct window into one of the most fascinating and debated aspects of Scythian culture, the role of their women. The ancient Greek, coming from a deeply patriarchal society where women were largely confined to the home, were both horrified and fascinated by the freedom and power of Scythian women. They wrote stories of the Amazons, the mythical tribe of fierce, man-hating warrior women, and many historians believe these tales were inspired by encounters with real-life Scythian horsewomen. For centuries, these stories were dismissed as pure fantasy, but modern archaeology has proven them to be rooted in fact. When archaeologists began to excavate Scythian Kurgan, they expected to find male skeletons buried with weapons and female skeletons buried with mirrors and jewelry, but in a significant number of cases, as many as 1 in 4 warrior graves, the skeleton buried with the full complement of a warrior's weapons turned out to be female. These were real-life Amazon graves, tangible proof that women in your society could be, and often were, warriors alongside the men. As you watch your cousin, you begin to understand the logic behind this. In a nomadic society, where the entire population is mobile and often under threat, the traditional, rigid division of labor seen in settled societies is a luxury you cannot afford. When your camp is attacked by raiders or predators, everyone who can ride and shoot must be ready to defend it, regardless of their gender. It is a matter of practical survival. But then, you notice a subtle difference. While the young men are loud and boisterous in their training, shouting challenges and boasting of their shots, the women are quiet and focused. Their movements are efficient, their expressions serious. They are not performing for the crowd. They are simply honing a skill. This raises a question that archaeologists and anthropologists still debate. Did these warrior women hold the same social status as their male counterparts? Were they considered fully equal, or were they a special class of women? Perhaps those who had not married or had chosen the warrior's path for a specific reason. Some scholars argue they were completely equal, leaders and chieftains in their own right. Others suggest they were respected by distinct groups, their role as warriors perhaps limiting their roles in other areas of society, like marriage and child-rearing. The truth is likely complex and varied from tribe to tribe. After the training is over, your cousin rides over to you. She is no longer the fierce warrior, but the familiar, laughing girl you know. She ruffles your hair. You say, "Little mouse," she says with a grin. Anything a man can do from a horse, a woman can do better, because she is not distracted by her own boasting. She winks and drives off to join the other women preparing the evening meal. You are left there, your worldview completely rearranged. The clear lines you thought existed between the roles of men and women have just been revealed to be as blurry and windswept as the steppe horizon. It is a powerful lesson in your world. Strength and skill are what matter, not who wields them. Weeks into the migration, your caravan arrives at a place where the grass is unusually lush and the water is plentiful. The elders declare halt for several days, a time for the herds to feast and regain their strength, and for the people to undertake tasks that are impossible in motion. For you, it is a time of wonder, because your father's brother, a man revered not for his skill in battle, but for his magic with fire and metal, decides to set up his workshop. Your uncle is a master goldsmith. In a society that values mobility above all else, his craft is a strange and sacred art. His tools are few and portable: a small clay furnace, a set of bellows made from goatskin, a collection of bone and bronze tools for chasing and engraving, and his most precious possession, a small, heavy leather pouch filled with raw gold. This gold is not mined by your people. It is acquired through trade with the settled folk to the south, or as tribute from conquered tribes, or, sometimes, panned in secret streams high in the mountains. To you, it is a magical substance, a piece of the sun you can hold in your hand. You watch, mesmerized, as your uncle sets up his workspace. He builds a small furnace from clay and dung, and starts a fire, feeding it with dried animal dung until it glows with a ferocious, white minus hot intensity. He works the bellows with a steady, rhythmic pulse, his face grim with concentration. He takes a few nuggets of gold from his pouch and places them in a small clay crucible. He sets the crucible in the heart of the fire. You watch, holding your breath, as the solid metal begins to soften, then glow, and finally, miraculously, melt into a shimmering, liquid pool, brighter than the sun itself. He is going to make a bell plaque, a decorative piece that a warrior would wear to show his wealth and status. He has carved a mold into a piece of soft soapstone, a complex, swirling design of a griffin, a mythical beast with the body of a lion and the head and wings of an eagle, locked in combat with a snake. This is the animal style in its most potent form, a miniature epic of mythical conflict. With incredible speed and confidence, your uncle lifts the crucible from the fire with a pair of bronze tongues and pours the liquid gold into the mold. There is a sizzle and a puff of smoke. The gold flows into every tiny crevice of the design. Now comes the waiting, the hardest part. The gold must cool slowly to prevent it from cracking. As you wait, you ponder the source of these designs. Where do they come from? The griffin is not an animal you see on the steppe. You have eagles and you have seen paintings of lions from the southern lands. But this combination is something else, a creature of the imagination. The origin and meaning of the Scythian animal style is one of the great puzzles of art history. The style is instantly recognizable, yet its influences are vast and complex. Some scholars argue it is a purely indigenous art form, born from the shamanic visions of the steppe peoples. Others trace its influences to the ancient art of Persia, Assyria, and even China, suggesting it is a brilliant synthesis of motifs acquired through trade and warfare along the ancient Silk Road. Still others seek clear parallels with the art of the Greeks, with whom your people had extensive contact. The truth, most likely, is that your uncle is not just an artisan. He is a curator, a genius at taking ideas from a dozen different cultures and forging them into something uniquely, powerfully Scythian. Once the gold has cooled, your uncle breaks the soapstone mold, revealing the rough shape of the plaque. The rest of the work is done by hand. For hours, he sits, patiently filing, polishing, and engraving the fine details with his sharp bone tools. He gives the griffin's eye a fierce glare, defines each individual feather on its wings, and adds texture to the snake's scales. He is not just making an object, he is breathing life into the metal. You notice a peculiar detail in his technique. Before he began, he whispered a short prayer into the mold, and as he works, he hums a low, monotonous chant. It's not a song with words, but a vibration, a sound that seems to match the rhythm of his work. Is this just a habit, a way to focus his mind, or is it a form of magic, an incantation to ensure the spirit of the griffin properly inhabits the gold? It is an intangible part of the creative process that no archaeologist will ever be able to excavate. Finally, it is done. He holds it up. The finished plaque is a masterpiece, a small object that contains a universe of swirling energy and violent grace. It is heavy, solid, and yet it seems to move. The sun catches its polished surfaces, and it seems to blaze within a fire. You have watched your uncle take a piece of the earth, melt it with fire and air, and shape it into a story. He has beaten the sun into a goal. The rest stop is over. The herds are fattened, the people are rested, and the great migration begins again. But a somber mood has fallen over the caravan. Word has spread like the wind. A great chieftain of a neighboring clan, a man famous for his wisdom and his battle scars, has died, and your clan has been called to attend his funeral. This is not a simple burial. When a great Scythian leader dies, his final journey is a monumental undertaking, a ceremony of grief, honor, and brutal sacrifice that will leave a permanent mark upon the earth. You are about to witness the construction of a Kurgan. You divert from your migratory path and travel for 2 days to the appointed place, a high plain with a commanding view of the surrounding steppe. Other clans are already there. Thousands of people and their herds gathered in a great circle. In the center is a deep, square pit that has already been dug into the earth. The funeral rites are elaborate and last for many days. The chieftain's body has been specially prepared. His internal organs have been removed and he has been embalmed with precious herbs and beeswax, a practice your people learned from contact with the Egyptians or Persian. His body is then placed on a wagon and paraded through all lands his clan control. A final, silent tour of his domain. Now, the final act begins. The bottom of the great pit is lined with fresh grass and fell. The chieftain's body, dressed in his finest robes and adorned with his most spectacular gold jewelry, is lowered into the pit and placed in a wooden burial chamber. But he will not be alone. What happens next is a chilling and profound expression of your people's beliefs about the afterlife. The chieftain's closest companions must accompany him on his journey to the next world. His wife, who refuses to be ruled by another, is ceremonially strangled and laid beside him. His cupbearer, his cook, his groom, and several of his most loyal warriors are also killed and arranged carefully in the pit around him. It is a terrible, solemn sight, but it is seen as an act of ultimate loyalty, not murder. Then come the horses, a dozen of his finest steeds, the ones he rode in battle and in the hunt, are sacrificed and their bodies placed in the tomb, complete with their elaborate golden bridles and saddles. To a Scythian, a man without a horse in the afterlife is as helpless as a man without a horse in this one. This practice of human and animal sacrifice, particularly the scale of it, is one of the most shocking and controversial aspects of your culture. The Greek historian Herodotus described it in lurid detail, and for centuries, his accounts were considered wild exaggerations, but modern archaeology has proven him right. Excavations of royal Kurgan have unearthed these satellite graves, the skeletons of retainers and horses surrounding the central chieftain, confirming the grim reality of these funerary rites. But the question that archaeologists and historians still debate is the meaning behind it. Was this purely a religious belief, a literal attempt to provide the chieftain with everything he would need in the next world? Or was it also a brutal political act? By eliminating the chieftain's closest wife and advisors, it prevented succession crises and ensured that the new leader could appoint his own loyal followers, effectively rebooting the clan's power structure. It was likely a grim fusion of both spiritual belief and ruthless political pragmatism. Once the tomb is filled with the bodies and treasures, a great wooden roof is placed over the pit. And now, the final stage begins. Every person present, thousands of you, must participate in building the chieftain's new mountain. 4 days, you work, carrying earth in leather baskets and piling it on top of the grave. Slowly, painstakingly, a great mound of earth begins to rise from the flat plain. As you work, you notice a strange ritual. At the end of each day, a group of priests performs a purification rite, burning a mixture of herbs and cannabis seeds in a small tent and inhaling the smoke. They believe this allows them to communicate with the spirits of the dead and ensure their safe passage. This use of cannabis, confirmed by the discovery of braziers and charred seeds in actual tombs, was not for recreation, but was a deeply ingrained part of your people's mortuary rituals. Finally, the Kurgan is complete. It is a massive, man-made hill, a new and permanent feature on the landscape. It is a tomb, a monument, and a claim to this land for all time. The funeral is over. The chieftain has been given a mountain for a gravestone, and his memory is now as enduring as the earth itself. You get back on your horse and rejoin the endless flow of your own migration, leaving the silent hill to stand guard over the steppe for millennia to come. The solemnity of the great funeral fades as your clan rejoins its own path. The memory of the new miners-made mountain receding behind you. The mood of your people, however, has shifted. The elaborate funeral was a display of wealth and power, but it was also a drain on the clan's resources. Fine horses were sacrificed. Precious gold was buried. Now, there is a need to replenish that wealth, to reassert the vitality of the living, and on the steppe, there is an ancient and accepted way to do this. One evening, your father and uncle gathered the young men of the family, their faces lit by the flickering firelight. Their expressions are not somber or sad, but sharp with a familiar, predatory excitement. They are planning a raid. The target is a small clan to the east, a group known for their excellent horses but weak warriors. They are not your sworn enemies, but they are not your allies either. They are simply a resource. In the complex political landscape of the steppe, this is a normal, almost seasonal activity. It is a form of violent, high-stakes economics. You are now considered old enough to join, not as a main fighter, but as a scout and a horse-handler. Your heart pounds with a mixture of terror and exhilaration. This is the moment your training with the bow and the horse has been leading up to. The raiding party sets out before dawn, a small group of about 20 warriors, moving without wagons, unencumbered and fast. You ride your own horse, your small bow slung over your shoulder. The silence is absolute, broken only by the soft thud of unshod hooves on the turf. You are a ghost, flowing over the dark land. Your job, along with the other boys, is to stay on the periphery, to watch the flanks and be ready to help round up the prize the horses. The main warriors ride ahead, their forms low and sleek in the pre-dawn gloom. This is not a battle of annihilation. The goal is not to kill the men or capture the women, though that can happen if things go wrong. The primary objective is to steal hoofbeats, to sweep in, create chaos, and doctor off as many of their horses as possible before they can mount a proper defense. Horses are the ultimate currency of the steppe, and this is the equivalent of a hostile takeover. This distinction between raiding and all-out warfare is crucial to understanding Scythian society, and it's a point historians often debate. Was this low-level, endemic conflict a sign of a chaotic and violent society, or was it a highly ritualized and controlled form of economic exchange, a way to redistribute wealth and test the strength of neighboring clans without escalating into full-scale war? The truth is, it was probably both. It was a dangerous but accepted part of the political ecosystem. As dawn breaks, painting the sky in pale shades of grey and pink, your party strikes with a series of piercing, hawk-like cries. The warriors charge into the sleeping enemy camp. The air is filled with shouts of alarm, the whinnying of panicked horses, and the thrum of bowstrings. From your vantage point on a low ridge, you see the plan unfold. A few warriors engage the enemy men who stumble from their wagons, keeping them pinned down. The main force, meanwhile, rides directly for the herd, using their spears and shouts to stampede the horses away from the camp and towards your position. Now, your work begins. A torrent of frightened horses, their eyes wide with panic, is thundering towards you. You and the other boys ride out, shouting and waving your arms, acting as a living fence to guide the stampeding herd in the right direction, away from their camp and into the open steppe. It is terrifying, chaotic work. Therefore he would be fatal. During the chaos, you see something that makes your blood run cold. One of the enemy warriors, a bearded man, manages to get to his horse and charges one of your uncles. Your uncle, caught off guard, wheels his horse around. The man throws a spear. At the last possible second, your uncle performs a maneuver you have only ever seen in practice. He drops to one side of his horse, hanging on by only a leg and a handful of mane. Using the body of his horse as a shield, the spear flies harmlessly over the saddle. Before the man can recover, your uncle swings back up, draws his bow, and fires a single, perfect arrow. The man slumps from his horse. It is a moment of breathtaking skill and brutal efficiency. You have helped capture nearly 50 horses. The raid is a success. The party retreats as quickly as it appeared, driving the new acquisitions before them. There are no celebrations, no boasts. It was simply a job, done well. As you ride back to your own camp, you are no longer just a boy. You have participated in the fierce, violent ballet of steppe life. You have seen how wealth is taken and how life is lost. You have earned a small, unspoken measure of respect. Your hands are shaking, but your heart is strangely calm. You have crossed another invisible line. The success of the raid brings a new energy to your clan. The addition of 50 new horses is a significant boost to your collective wealth and prestige. But these horses are not just for riding or milking. They are also your most valuable trading commodity. A few weeks after the raid, the elders decide it is time to make a long journey south, to the edge of your world, to trade with the Greeks. You are chosen to accompany the trading party, a great honor for someone so young. The journey takes you out of the familiar, endless grasslands on into a new landscape. The terrain becomes hillier, rockier, and you begin to see something you have only ever seen in winter trees. At first, they are sparse, stunted things, but soon you are riding through a proper forest, a strange and claustrophobic experience for a child of the open plains. The trading party is led by your uncle, the same man who planned the raid. He is both a warrior and a diplomat, a common combination for a Scythian leader. Your cargo is not just the captured horses, but also bundles of fine furs fox, moose, and beaver and barrels of salt, a precious commodity. After many days of travel, you arrive at the Greek colony of Olbia, a bustling port city on the shores of the Eurasian Sea, what you call the Strange Sea and what will later be known as the Black Sea. The city is a shock to your senses. It is a world of stone, straight lines, and noise. The houses are packed together. There are walls everywhere, and the smell of the sea is salty. Fishy smell so different from the fresh scent of the steppe is overpowering. You set up your camp outside the city walls, a temporary island of Scythian life in a Greek world. The Greek merchants come out to meet you. They are soft, minus-handed men with strange, curly beards, and they speak a flowing, musical language that sounds like birdsong to your ears. Your uncle, who has made this journey many times, communicates with them in a pidgin language, a mixture of Scythian, Greek, and hand gestures. The bartering is a slow, elaborate dance. The Greeks marvel at the quality of your horses and the thickness of your furs. You, in turn, are shown their goods, and the most valuable, most sought after Greek product is a dark, mysterious liquid they keep in large, beautifully painted clay jars, or amphorae. It is wine. Your people do not cultivate grapes. The only alcohol you know is your own ko you miss, which is mildly alcoholic and sour. This Greek wine is something else entirely. Your uncle is offered a taste from a shallow ceramic cup. He drinks it, his face unreadable. He then spits a small amount on the ground, a gesture of respect to the earth, before swallowing. He allows you a small sip. The taste is explosive. It is sweet, strong, and heavy, with a complex flavor of fruit and sun. It is nothing like the light, tangy ko you miss. It feels like drinking a powerful, liquid magic. The Scythian love for Greek wine was legendary, and a point of some condescension from the Greeks themselves. They believed you drank it improperly, failing to mix it with water as they did. They saw your habit of drinking it neat as a sign of your barbarian lack of moderation. This cultural difference in drinking habits is a classic example of how two societies can view the same substance in completely different ways. For the Greeks, wine was a civilized beverage for a symposium. For you, it was a potent, sacred substance, a way to achieve a state of divine frenzy. The trade is successful. You exchange 20 of your new horses and a large quantity of furs for several dozen amphorae of wine, as well as fine, painted pottery and some lengths of brightly dyed linen cloth. Your clan now has the luxury goods it needs for rituals, for gifts, and to display its status. As you prepare to leave, you witness a small, strange interaction that reveals the complex relationship between your two peoples. A Greek merchant, admiring your uncle's intricate tattoos, asks, through gestures, if he can buy the secret of the patterns. Your uncle just laughs. A deep, throaty sound. The idea of selling something so sacred, so personal, is absurd to him. There are some things that cannot be traded. This moment highlights a fundamental misunderstanding that will persist between your cultures. The Greeks, with their market economy, believe everything has a price. You, with your economy based on reciprocity and honor, know that some things are beyond value. This clash of economic philosophies is a source of endless friction and fascination. While historians will often focus on the wars between Greeks and Scythians, This quieter story of trade and cultural exchange is just as important. You were not just enemies. You were also partners, each side fascinated and slightly repulsed by the other. You ride away from the stone city, the precious, heavy amphory carefully packed in straw on a pack horse. You are heading back to your own world, a world of grass and sky, carrying with you the strange, dark magic of the south. The journey has taught you a valuable lesson. Your world is vast, but it is not the only one, and its edges are far stranger than you ever imagined. The journey back from the Greek city is a slow, triumphant return. The heady scent of the strange southern wine hangs in the air, a promise of the celebrations to come. But as you travel north, back into the heart of the steppe, the world begins to change. The lush green of summer gives way to the brittle gold of autumn. The wind, once a warm caress, now has a sharp, biting edge. The sky seems higher, paler. The great, slow turning of the seasons is upon you. The winter is coming. Your clan begins the final phase of its annual migration, moving towards the sheltered river valleys that will be your winter home. The pace quickens. There is an urgency in the air. To be caught by the first snows in the open steppe is a death sentence. You arrive at your wintering grounds just as the first flakes of snow begin to drift down from a grey, iron-colored sky. The location is a valley carved by a frozen river, the high banks providing a natural shield against the worst of the wind. Here, the great caravan finally comes to a halt. The wagons are arranged in a tight, defensive circle. The herds are brought in close. The ceaseless motion that has defined your life for 9 months is over. A great stillness descends. Life in the winter camp is a different existence entirely. Your world, once as vast as the horizon, now shrinks to the small, warm circle of your family wagon in the largest circle of the camp. The days are short, the nights immensely long and cold. The primary struggle is no longer for grass, but for warmth and survival. The men spend their days hunting the few animals that remain active in the winter, or fishing through holes cut in the thick river ice. But the most important job is gathering fuel. There are no forests here, so your only source of fuel is the dried dung of your own animals. It is a slow, smoky, but surprisingly effective fuel, and collecting it is a constant, vital chore. You huddle inside your wagon, wrapped in thick felt blankets and sheepskins. The air is dense with the smoky, acrid smell of the dung fire that smolders in a small clay pit in the center of the floor. A small hole in the roof lets out most of the smoke, but your eyes still sting and your throat is always a little raw. It is a life lived in a perpetual haze. The cold is a physical presence, a monster that is always scratching at the felt door. When the wind howls down the valley, it sounds like a hungry wolf. You learn the different kinds of cold: the sharp, clean cold of a still morning, the wet, bone-chilling cold of a blizzard, the terrifying, absolute cold of a night when the stars seem to crackle in the sky. This experience of the brutal steppe winter is something that the Greek and Roman authors who wrote about you could never truly comprehend. They saw your people as masters of the summer plains, but the story of your winter survival was largely invisible to them. Yet, this period of extreme hardship was what forged your resilience, your practicality, and your deep family bonds. In the long, dark evenings, the wagon becomes a sanctuary of light and life. This is the time for crafts and stories. The women repair clothing, soften leather, and create beautiful felt work, their needles flashing in the firelight. The men fletch arrows and repair their tack, and the elders, their voices low and mesmerizing, tell the great epic poems of your people, tales of hero-gods and mythical beasts. It is in the darkness of winter that your culture burns most brightly. But even here, in this frozen stillness, there are dangers. A sudden, particularly vicious blizzard, a white wind, can bury wagons and herds in a matter of hours. A disease can spread quickly through the closely packed animals, and there is always the risk of a raid from a desperate, starving rival clan. You witness a strange ritual that happens only in the depths of winter. An elder, a shaman, performs a ceremony to weaken the spirit of the cold. He creates a small effigy of a wolf out of ice and snow, then ceremonial kills it by melting it with a torch. all while chanting to the spirits of the sun and the summer to return. It's a desperate act of sympathetic magic, a small defiance against the overwhelming power of the season. The effectiveness of this ritual will be forever debated by future students of your religion. Is it a genuine shamanic practice, or a form of psychological comfort for a community pushed to its limits? You learn that winter is a great culling. The old, the weak, and the unlucky, both among the people in the herds, often do not survive to see the spring thaw. It is a hard, cruel reality, but one that ensures that only the strongest will carry on the life of the clan. You lie in your nest of furs, listening to the wind howl outside your wagon. You are warm, you are fed, and you are with your family. In the vast, frozen silence of the steppe winter, this is all that matters. You huddle against the white wind and you endure, dreaming of the green grass and the endless sky that will one day return. The iron grip of winter finally begins to loosen. The days grow longer, the sun feels warmer, and the great thaw begins. The frozen river cracks and groans, and the first hints of green appear on the valley floor. A restless energy returns to the camp. The time of stillness is over. The time of motion is about to begin again. Before you leave the wintering grounds, your uncle, the trader, opens the precious cargo he brought back from the Greek city of Olbia. The amphory of wine will be saved for the great spring festival, but the other goods are now distributed. Your family receives a length of bright blue linen, a beautiful piece of Greek pottery. It is a kylix, a shallow to minus-handled winker. It is exquisitely made, its black minus figure painting depicting a scene from a Greek myth. You do not understand a hero fighting a bull minus-headed man. The lines are perfect, the art history astonishing. It is a thing of great beauty. It is also completely, utterly useless. You and your family gather around this strange object, turning it over in your hands. Your mother admires the fine, smooth finish. Your father taps it with a fingernail, marveling at its thinness and lightness, but no one knows what to do with it. Your people drink from shallow wooden bowls or from cups made of horn or leather. They are sturdy, unbreakable, and practical. This clay cup is fragile. A single clumsy movement, a single jolt of the wagon, and it would shatter into 100 pieces. It cannot be packed with the other household goods. It cannot be used for the thick, sour kayumis, which would seem out of place in such a delicate vessel. It is very beautiful, your mother says finally, but what is it for? This is the central dilemma that beautiful, non-minus essential goods pose to a nomadic society. In a life where everything must be portable, durable, and multi-minus functional, an object that is purely for aesthetic appreciation is a problem. It is a burden. It is dead weight. This scene highlights a fascinating aspect of the cultural exchange between your people and the Greeks. You traded your practical, valuable goods, horses, and furs for what were, in your world, essentially trinkets. Why? The question will be debated by archaeologists and economists for centuries. Some will argue that these Greek luxury goods were not valued for their utility, but as status symbols. Owning a piece of fine Greek pottery was a way for a Scythian chieftain to display his wealth and his connection to the powerful, settled world to the south. The uselessness of the object was, in a strange way, the very source of its value. It was a sign that you were so rich you could afford to own things you didn't need. Other scholars will suggest a more ritualistic purpose. Perhaps this cup was not meant for drinking at all. Perhaps it was intended to be used only once, in a specific religious ceremony, and then buried in a kurgan as an offering to the gods. Many of the finest examples of Greek pottery found in Scythian lands have been discovered in tombs, suggesting they were seen as sacred or funerary objects. Your father decides to solve the problem. He takes a thin leather cord and carefully, skillfully, wraps it around the base and handles of the cup. He fashions a loop and hangs the cup from one of the curved wooden ribs at the wagon's roof. There, it dangles, a spot of black minus and minus red beauty in the smoky brown interior of your home. It turns slowly with the motion of the wagon. The strange mythic scene on its surface a silent, incomprehensible story. It serves no practical purpose. It is simply there to be looked at. In a world of relentless practicality, it is a small, fragile island of pure beauty. You notice a small, odd detail. The painting on the bottom of the cup, inside the bowl, is of a large, staring eye. When the cup is empty, the eye looks up at you. When you are drinking, you are, in effect, blotting out the eye. The Greeks called these I- cups, and their exact meaning is a mystery even to their own scholars. Was it a playful decoration? A ward against evil? A reminder to watch your drinking? For you, it is just another layer of beautiful strangeness. The cup hangs in your wagon for the entire season of the Great Migration. It becomes a familiar presence, a quiet friend. It reminds you of the strange world of the dirt miners diggers, of the vastness of the world, and of the fact that sometimes something can be important simply because it is beautiful. And then, one day, during a particularly rough river crossing, its wings too hard, hits a wooden support, and shatters, falling to the floor in a shower of painted shards. Your mother sweeps up the pieces without a word. Its time with you is brief, but its memory, the memory of its useless, perfect beauty, remains. The spring migration is in full swing. The steppe is a vibrant, living grain, teeming with new life. The foals and lambs, born during the late winter, are strong enough to keep up with the moving herds. The air is warm, and the mood of your people is optimistic and expansive. It is a time for rituals of cleansing and renewal, a time to wash away the grime and stillness of winter and embrace the energy of the new season. One evening, after the wagons have been circled, your uncle, the warrior trader, approaches you. You are becoming a man, he says, his eyes crinkling at the corners. You have seen raid, and you have seen the strange sea. It is time you were purified. He leads you not to the river for a washing, but to a small, specially constructed tent set a short distance away from the main camp. It is a tiny, conical structure, barely large enough for 3 or 4 people to sit in, made of thick felt stretched over a frame of 3 poles. It looks like a miniature wagon miner's house. You duck inside, following your uncle and 2 other young men who have been chosen for this honor. The tent is dark and windowless. In the center, a pit has been dug, and in it are several large, smooth river stones that have been heated in a fire until they glow a dull, angry red. The heat in the small, enclosed space is already intense. An old shaman, a man whose body is a roadmap of sacred tattoos, is waiting inside. He gestures for you to sit on the felt floor. He does not speak. The atmosphere is one of deep solemnity. The shaman then produces a small leather pouch. He opens it, and a strange, sweet, and pungent aroma fills the air. It is a smell you have encountered before, but never so concentrated. He takes a handful of what looks like small, dark seeds and, with a sudden, swift movement, throws them directly onto the glowing miner's hot stones. There is an immediate, loud hissing sound, and a thick, white, incredibly aromatic smoke billows up from the pit, instantly filling the tiny tent. You inhale, and the smoke hits the back of your throat, warm and sweet. It doesn't make you cough like wood smoke. It feels different. This is the Scythian purification ritual, a kind of nomadic sauna, famously described by Herodotus. He wrote, with a mixture of fascination and amusement, the Scythians take the seed of this hemp and throw it on the red miner's hot stones. It immediately smokes and gives out such a vapor as no Grecian before miner's bath can exceed. The seawives, delighted, shout for joy. He was describing a hot box, a ritualistic use of cannabis. The smoke is not just steam. It is thick with the psychoactive compounds of the hemp seeds. As you continue to breathe in the dense, sweet vapor, the world begins to change. The edges of your vision soften. The low, rhythmic chanting of the shaman seems to come from both inside and outside your own head. The intense heat makes sweat pour from your body, but you feel a strange, pleasant lightness, a sense of euphoria. Your uncle leans over to you, his face, seen through the thick haze, seeming to ripple and shift. This is how we speak to the Sky Father, he whispers, his voice sounding distant. We send our impurities up to him in the smoke, and he sends his wisdom down to us in the vapor. This ritual is a cornerstone of your people's spiritual life, yet its exact purpose is a subject of much debate for future scholars. Was it purely for physical cleansing, a way to sweat out the dirt of a long journey? Was it a social bonding experience for warriors? Or was it, as Herodotus implies, a form of communal recreation, a way to get high? The shaman's words suggest a deeper, more spiritual purpose. It is a form of divination, a shamanic journey. The cannabis is not a recreational drug, but an enzygon, a substance used to induce a religious experience. By entering an altered state of consciousness, you are able to cleanse your spirit and communicate more directly with the divine world. As you sit in the sweltering, smoky darkness, a strange detail of the construction catches your eye. The three main poles that form the frame of the tent are leaning against each other, but they are not tied at the top. They are held together by the tension of the felt cover itself. It's a simple, elegant piece of engineering that allows the tent to be erected and dismantled in minutes. It's a small, practical detail in the midst of a profound mystical experience, a perfect metaphor for your people's culture, where the spiritual and the practical are always intertwined. After what feels like an eternity, the shaman declares the purification complete. You crawl out of the tent and into the cool night air. The feeling is one of incredible renewal. Your body feels clean and light, your mind clear and calm. The stars in the vast steppe sky seem brighter, closer, as if you could reach out and touch them. You have been ritually cleansed, your spirit washed clean by the sacred smoke. You have shared a profound, intimate experience with the other men in the tent, forging a bond that goes deeper than words. You have shouted for joy, just as Herodotus described, and you feel ready for the new season, for whatever the endless green ocean has in store for you. The feeling of purification, of spiritual lightness from the smoke tent, lingers for days. You feel sharper, more attuned to the world around you. It is in this heightened state of awareness that you truly begin to listen to the stories of the elders, not just as tales for children, but as history, as a living memory of your people. One evening, around the fire, a very old man, so old that his tattoos have blurred into a soft blue haze on his skin, begins to tell the greatest and most famous of all Scythian stories. It is the story of how your people, a nation of mobile herders, defeated the largest, most powerful army in the known world. It is the story of your victory over Darius the Great, the king of Persia, the great king of the dirt miners diggers. The old man begins, his voice a reedy whisper, sent a message to our ancestor, the chief Eurasian. He said, "You must bow to me and bring me earth and water as tribute, or I will crush your people into the dust." The old man spits into the fire. Our chief sent back a message. He said, "We have no cities to be destroyed and no fields to be ravaged. If you wish to fight us, come and find the tombs of our fathers. If you can desecrate them, then you can fight us. But until then, we will not stand and fight." This is the core of the Scythian military strategy, a brilliant, unfrustrating form of asymmetrical warfare that will be studied by military historians for thousands of years. It is a strategy of non-minus engagement, of strategic retreat, of using your greatest asset, the vast, empty steppe itself, as your primary weapon. The old man describes the arrival of the Persian army. It was a force of unimaginable size, hundreds of thousands of infantry, cavalry, and support staff, a moving city of soldiers. They marched into your lands, expecting a decisive battle, but they found nothing. Our warriors did not meet them in a line of battle. The storyteller explains, that is the dirt miners digger's way, a fool's game. Instead, we became ghosts. We became the wind. He describes how the Scythian army, composed entirely of mounted archers, refused to engage in a pitched battle. They would appear on the horizon, taunting the Persians, raining arrows on their foraging parties from a safe distance, and then melting away back into the steppe before the heavy Persian cavalry could respond. The great Persian army was drawn deeper and deeper into the empty plains, their supply lines stretching to the breaking point. They marched for weeks, chasing a phantom army, finding only abandoned camps, filled wells, and an endless, mocking horizon. The steppe itself became their enemy. The sun, the thirst, the vast emptiness it wore them down, broke their spirit, and exhausted their resources. The great king grew angry. The old man says, a twinkle in his eye, he sent another message to our chief. Why do you run like a coward? Stand and fight. And our chief replied, this is not running. This is our way of war. We are simply following the grass, as we always do. If you can keep up, you are welcome to join us. This famous exchange, recorded by Herodotus, perfectly encapsulates the fundamental clash of military philosophies. Darius, a product of a civilization that valued decisive battles and clear victories, could not comprehend war without fighting. Yet Euryresos, the Scythian chief, understood that for a nomadic people, survival and the preservation of the herds was the only true victory. But was this strategy a deliberate, brilliant plan from the start, or was it an improvisation born of necessity? Historians will debate this. Some will argue that the Scythians were masters of guerrilla warfare, intentionally luring the Persians into a trap. Others will suggest that they were simply doing what they always did, retreating from a superior force to protect their people, and that the Persians, in their arrogance, effectively defeated themselves by chasing them. The truth is likely a combination of both. It was an instinctual strategy, honed by centuries of steppe life, that proved to be devastatingly effective against a conventional army. The old man reaches the climax of his story. Finally, he says, the Persians were starving, their horses were dying, and their spirits were broken. Darius, the great king, the master of the world, was forced to turn back. He fled in the night, abandoning his sick and wounded, and limped back to his own lands, defeated not by an army, but by an emptiness. He also tells a curious, almost comical addendum to the story. Just before the Persians retreated, the Scythian chiefs sent Darius a gift of bird, a mouse, a frog, and 5 arrows. The meaning of this symbolic gift was a puzzle. Darius, in his arrogance, interpreted it to mean the Scythians were surrendering their land, the mouse, their water, the frog, their mobility, the bird, and their weapons, the arrows. But a wiser advisor offered a different, more ominous interpretation. Unless you can fly like a bird, hide in the earth like a mouse, or cross the marshes like a frog, you will not escape our arrows. This second interpretation, of course, proved to be the correct one. You listen, spellbound. This is more than a story. It is your founding myth. It is the ultimate expression of your people's identity, your freedom, your resilience, your unconventional strength. It is the proof that your mobile, primitive way of life can defeat the most powerful empires on earth. It is a story that fills you with a fierce, quiet pride and a deep understanding of who you are. You are the people the steppe could not conquer, the wind that could not be caught. The years flow by like a great, slow river. The seasons turn, the migrations continue, and you grow from a boy into a man. You have taken a wife, and you have children of your own who now listen to the stories of the elders around the fire. The tattoo on your shoulder has been joined by others, a wolf for a successful hunt, a swirling sun for your first ray. Your life is etched onto your skin, and through all these years, one constant has been by your side, the dun-minus-colored horse you were given as a child. He is no longer a wild colt, but a venerable old warrior. His shaggy coat is now flecked with grey, and his eyes, once wild, are now filled with a calm, deep wisdom. He is not just an animal you own. He is your brother, your other half. Together, you have crossed the great steppe a dozen times. He has carried you into the chaos of a raid and stood steady as you fired your bow and hunt. He has warmed you with his body during a sudden blizzard and found hidden springs with his unerring instinct during a drought. You know his every mood from the slightest twitch of his ear. He knows your every intention from the slightest pressure of your knee. You have shared more silent conversations with this horse than you have ever had with any human. He is the repository of your life's memories. The time, the great culling force of this steppe, comes for everyone. Your horse is old now. His gait, once so powerful and fluid, has become slow and stiff. He struggles to keep up with the herd, and it pains you to see the effort in his movements. You give him the best grazing, the warmest spot in the lee of the wagon at night, but you know the end is near. One morning, he cannot get up. He lies on the grass, his breathing shallow, his great, dark eyes following you as you approach. You kneel beside him, stroking his neck, your heart a cold, heavy stone in your chest. There is no shaman's cure for this. There is only the quiet dignity of an ending. Use it with him for hours. The great caravan, the river of your people, moves on without you. Your family stays behind, giving you this space for your grave. The herd flows past, and you are left in a bubble of profound silence, alone with your oldest friend. The bond between a Scythian and their horse was something that outsiders could never fully grasp. To the Greeks and Persians, a horse was a tool, a valuable piece of military equipment or a status symbol. To lose one was a financial or tactical setback. For you, it is like losing a limb or a part of your own soul. Thus the spiritual connection is reflected in your people's burials. Just as the great chieftain was buried with his favorite steeds, even common warriors are often buried with their horses. The discovery of these horse burials, sometimes with incredibly elaborate and beautiful tech, is one of the defining features of Scythian archaeology. It is tangible proof of this profound, human-Midas animal bond. But the nature of this bond is still debated by scholars. Was it a purely sentimental attachment, a deep affection for a companion animal, much like a modern person might feel for a dog? Or was it more spiritual? Did you believe that the horse's spirit was intrinsically linked to your own, and that you would be reunited in the afterlife? Some theories even suggest that the horse was considered a psychopomp, a spirit guide who would carry its rider's soul from the world of the living to the world of the dead. The silence of your grief contains all of these possibilities. As the sun begins to set, your horse gives a final, shuddering breath and is still. The silence he leaves behind is immense, far greater than the mere absence of his breathing. A part of your own life, a part of your own story, has just ended. You do not weep loudly. Scythian grief is a quiet, heavy thing. You sit with him in the twilight, your hand resting on his still minus warm face. Tomorrow, you will bury him. You will not build a kurgan, for he is not a chief, but you will give him a place of honor, his head facing east towards the rising sun. You will whisper a prayer to the winds to carry his spirit safely on its journey. And then, you will have to do the hardest thing of all. You will have to get on a new horse, a younger, stronger one from your herd, and ride to catch up with your people. The new horse will feel strange, its movements unfamiliar, its spirit alien to your own. It will feel like a betrayal, but you will do it, because on the steppe, life must go on, the herd must keep moving, and the man, no matter how deep his grief, cannot be left behind. You rejoin the grey caravan, a new horse beneath you, a hollow space beside you where your old friend used to be. The grief is a quiet, constant companion, but the rhythm of the migration eventually smooths its sharpest edges. Life, as it always does on the steppe, moves on. You are no longer a young man. The sun and the wind have carved deep lines into your face, and your own hair is now streaked with the grey of a winter sky. You are an elder now, a man of respect and experience. Your own children are grown, with families of their own, their wagons trailing yours in the great procession. One evening, as you sit by the fire, your youngest granddaughter, a small girl with wild hair and your own dark eyes, clambers onto your lap. She traces the faded blue lines of the tattoos on your forearm with her small finger. "Tell me this story, grandfather," she says, pointing to a swirling image of a wolf. You look down at your own skin, and you see not just patterns, but a map of your life. Each tattoo is a chapter, a memory, a milestone. You have become the book that you never had. You look at the wall. This one, you say, your voice a low rumble, is from the winter of the great blizzard, when the wolves grew bold from hunger and tried to steal our sheep. I killed the leader of the pack with a single arrow. This mark honors the wolf's fierce spirit, and it is a reminder that we must also be fierce to protect our own. She then points to a complex, knotted design on your bicep, and this one, that is the knot of my marriage to your grandmother. It shows that our two family lines are now woven together as one, a bond that cannot be broken. She traces the great stag on your shoulder, the very first mark you ever received, now faded and soft with age. And the stag? She asks, though she has heard this story 100 times. The stag, you say, smiling, is the story of a boy who was afraid, but who learned to be brave. It is the beginning of all the other stories. This is how your people record history. It is not written in ink on scrolls that can rot or burn. It is written in sodden fat on the most permanent parchment you own your own skin. Your body is a living codex, a personal and communal history that you carry with you until you are returned to the earth. This practice, this living library, is one of the most intimate and personal aspects of your culture, and one that is almost impossible for outsiders to fully appreciate. When archaeologists of the future unearth the frozen, tattooed bodies of your ancestors, they will marvel at the artistry. They will categorize the motifs and debate their symbolic meanings. They will see the stags, the griffins, the wolves, but they will never be able to read the stories the way your granddaughter is reading them now. They will not know that this specific wolf represents that specific blizzard, or that this particular swirl represents a journey to a specific trading post. The grand, stylistic patterns will be visible, but the personal, biographical details will be lost forever. The debate will always be about the general meaning of Scythian art, because the specific, individual meanings are as ephemeral as the lives they recorded. You show her a small, simple tattoo on the back of your hand, a series of 3 small dots. And this, you say, is for the horse who is my brother. 1 dot for his courage, 1 for his loyalty, and 1 for his long, good life. It's a small, private memorial, a quiet testament to a bond that shaped your world. This practice of memorial tattoos is something scholars might speculate about but will never be able to prove. There is no way to know if a particular abstract design is purely decorative or a profound symbol of personal loss. The deepest griefs, like the greatest joys, are often recorded in the quietest, most subtle mark. Your granddaughter looks at her own smooth and marked arm. When will I get my story? She asks, her voice full of a child's impatient yearning. Soon, you tell her, stroking her hair, your life is still a clean, new piece of felt. You must live a little more. And then the old woman with the needles will help you write the first chapter. And it will be a good one. You look into the fire, its flames dancing and casting shadows that look like the swirling animals on your skin. You're a map of a life lived on the move, a history written in scars and soot, and in the eyes of your granddaughter, you see the next blank page, waiting for the wind and the grass and the horses to write their own new story. The fire crackles, casting a warm, dancing light on your granddaughter's face as she drifts off to sleep, her head resting on your lap. The stories of your own past have quieted her, but they have stirred something in you of a unsettling feeling that has been drifting at the edges of the camp for several seasons now. It is a feeling carried on the wind, a whisper from the east. Later that night, the men of your clan gather for a council. The mood is serious. A scouting party has just returned from a long ride towards the rising sun, and the news they bring is not good. They speak of a new people, a new power rising on the endless steppe. They call themselves the Sarmatians. They are like us, but not like us. One of the scouts reports, his face grim. They are a horse people. They live in wagons, but their ways are different. He describes their fighting style. While your people rely on the speed and agility of mounted archers, hit minus and minus run tactics, and the light spear, the Sarmatians are different. They are pioneers of a new, terrifying form of warfare, the heavy cavalry charge. They wear armor of iron scales, like a great fish, the scout says, his voice low with a mixture of fear and respect. And their horses are armored too. They do not fight with a bow from a distance. They fight with a long, heavy lance, held tight under the arm, and they charge all together in a solid wedge that cannot be stopped. It is like being hit by a mountain. This is the dawn of a new era in steppe warfare. The Sarmatians, with their invention of the armored cataphracort and the couch-lance, represent a military revolution, the age of the light, agile horse archer, which your people perfected. is about to be challenged by the age of the heavy, shock minus cavalry knight. The scout also speaks of their women. We thought our women were fierce, he says, shaking his head in disbelief. That their women, they are all warriors. They do not marry until they have killed a man in battle. They lead the raids. They are the fiercest of them all. This detail, whether entirely true or an exaggeration born of fear, reinforces the sense that these are harder, more aggressive people. Herodotus himself would later write of this, claiming these Sarmatian warrior women were the descendants of Scythians who had intermarried with the mythical Amazons. These whispers from the east are the first signs of a great historical shift that will eventually lead to the decline of your own culture. For centuries, you have been the undisputed masters of the western steppe, but the rise of the Sarmatians will change everything. Over the next 200 years, they will gradually push westward, displacing, absorbing, or destroying the Scythian tribes in their path. The elders in the council debate the meaning of this news. Some are dismissive. They are just another clan with new ideas. One old warrior scoffs, "We have seen their kind before. The steppe is large enough for all. We will trade with them, raid them, marry them. It is the way of things." But others are more concerned. Their way is not our way. Another elder argues. They do not respect the old balance. They seek not just to raid, but to conquer and hold land. They fight not for horses, but for domination. This is a classic historical debate, played out in real time. Is the arrival of a new, powerful group a cyclical event, a normal part of the ebb and flow of nomadic politics, or does it represent a fundamental, linear change, a paradigm shift that will have permanent consequences? The older, more traditional leaders see it as the former. The more prescient ones fear it is the latter. You listen to the debate, a cold feeling in your stomach. You think of the story of how your ancestors defeated the great Persian army. Your strategy was based on evasion, on having an endless space to retreat into. But how do you retreat from an enemy that is just like you? An enemy that is also born of the steppe, that is just as mobile, and that has a military technology designed specifically to counter your own. You cannot defeat them by luring them into the emptiness, because the emptiness is their home. 2. A small, seemingly insignificant detail from the scout's report sticks in your mind. He mentioned that the Sarmatians have developed a new, more efficient type of stirrup, made of metal, that allows them to stand and brace themselves in the saddle for the impact of the lance charge. Your people use simple leather loops, more for mounting than for stability. It's a small technological difference. A loop of metal versus a loop of leather. On it, the fate of an empire might hinge. The council ends with no firm decision. A wait-and-see approach is adopted. More scouts will be sent, but you can feel that something has changed. A new shadow has fallen across the steppe. It is not the shadow of a settled empire from the south, a threat you know how to handle. It is a shadow from within your own world, a harder, headier version of yourself. The wind from the east carries a new song, and it is not a song of peace. The council of elders breaks up, the men melting back into the darkness of the camp, their minds heavy with the unsettling news from the east. You walk back to your family's wagon, the vast, star-minus dusted sky seeming less like a comforting blanket and more like a cold, indifferent void. The world, which for so long felt eternal and unchanging, now feels fragile. You duck inside the warm, familiar space of your home. Your granddaughter is asleep in her nest of furs, her face peaceful in the dim light of the dying fire. You look at her and feel a fierce, protective love, followed by a wave of deep, quiet sadness. The world you have known, the world of stories and traditions you are passing on to her, is being threatened by forces you do not fully understand. You sit down and pick up a small, unfinished bell, the one you were making for her. It is carved from a willow branch, its wood still pale and new. You take your knife, its blade worn smooth from years of use, and you begin to work. You shave thin slivers of wood from the bough's belly, slowly, carefully, teaching the wood how to bend without breaking. The familiar, repetitive motion is a comfort, a small act of creation in a world that feels like it's on the verge of destruction. As you work, You think about the things you will teach her, the inheritance you will leave. It is not an inheritance of land or gold. It is an inheritance of knowledge, of a way of being. You will teach her how to read the sky, to know the weather from the shape of the clouds and the direction of the wind. You will teach her how to find north by the stars, the silent, fixed signposts in a world of constant motion. You will teach her to listen to the language of the horse, to understand its fears and its needs, to treat it not as a slave but as a partner. You will place her on her first horse, just as your father placed you on yours, and you will watch her take her first terrifying, exhilarating ride. You will teach her the song of the bow, the clean thrum of the string, the whistle of the arrow. You will show her how to let the arrow fly from her spirit, to become one with the target, one with the act of the hunt. And you will teach her the stories, the story of the great stag on your shoulder, the story of the victory over the king of Persia, the story of the useless, beautiful great cut. You will fill her mind with the myths, the histories, and the quiet wisdom of your people. You will give her the only thing a Scythian can truly own, a strong spirit in the world of stories to carry inside her. This act of teaching, of passing on a culture in the face of immense change and external threat, is the final, most poignant chapter of any civilization's story. It is a race against time, an attempt to instill a set of values and an identity in a new generation that may have to adapt or abandon them entirely to survive. Will she need to know these things in the world that is coming? Will the ability to fletch an arrow matter when faced with a Sarmatian lance? Will the story of defeating Darius offer any practical advice for dealing with an enemy that fights by a new set of rules? You do not know. This is the great, unanswerable question that every elder in every declining culture must face. Do you prepare your children for the world as it was, or for the world as it will be? You finish shaping the small bow. It is perfectly balanced, a miniature echo of the great Scythian war bows. You run your thumb over its smooth surface. It is a symbol of your past, of your identity, of everything you hold sacred. You look at your sleeping granddaughter. Perhaps, you think, the two are not so different. Perhaps the best way to prepare her for an uncertain future is to ground her firmly in the virtues of her past: resilience, adaptability, courage, and a deep, abiding connection to the natural world. Perhaps a strong spirit is the only weapon that can never be counted. You place the small, unstrung bow beside her as she sleeps. It is a promise that as long as there are those who remember the stories, who can hear the song of the wind and understand the heart of a horse, then your people, the Scythians, will never truly vanish from the earth. They will simply flow on, the river of memory, into the endless steppe of time. And so, the quiet histories of the steppe begin to fade, carried away on the ceaseless wind. The creaking of the wagon wheels grows distant, the thunder of hooves softens into a memory, and the vast, green ocean of grass dissolves into the soft, quiet darkness of your own room. You are no longer a rider on the endless plains. You can feel the stillness around you, the solid and reassuring weight of your own bed. The sharp, clean scent of the wind is gone, replaced by the familiar air of your own home. The feeling of motion has ceased, and a profound and welcome stillness settles over you. Let the memory of that great, open sky be your comfort. Let the silence of the vast, empty plains be your peace. The journey is over. The caravan has come to its final rest. There is nothing left to do now, nothing at all, but to drift into the quiet, still country of sleep. The end of the article. Good night.